Hello everyone, welcome back to Barrack Bricks. Today I'm going to show you my custom Lego tanks, but this time I'm going to show you my custom Lego tanks in a different color scheme. Let's get into it. After I created my first couple of modern Lego tanks, I realized that I wanted a few more Lego tanks that I could use in different environments, such as these three base environments here: the desert, jungle, and Arctic. And we're going to be going through them one by one, showing off their different color schemes so that I can show you what it takes to create a Lego tank for a different environment. And also, all of these tanks are 100% Lego pieces. So first, we're going to start off with the desert tank. So my desert tank utilizes tan and dark tan, a couple gray bricks, and a couple black bricks on the turret. And these new tanks with newer color schemes, they all utilize the same build as my original modern tanks. They still have the pretty empty inside, and they use the same track configuration, turret, everything. Everything is recreated and just recolorized. Now, some of these new tanks have different features on them. This desert version has a plow on the front of it. I got this idea from looking at a couple pictures of M1 Abrams and a couple other Allied tanks used during the Operation Desert Storm, where a few tanks were outfitted with plows to help dig up sand to make an entrenchment. Now, all of these tanks, again, use the same pieces. They're just all recolorized. One of the reasons that it took so long for me to release a new long-form video is because I ordered a lot of these pieces from the Lego Pick-a-Brick online, and it took 22 business days for all of my pieces to arrive. So that's why it took so long for me to actually release this video, and for the rest of the video, I hope you guys enjoy. The next tank we're looking at is the Jungle Camo. Now, this tank has a lot of dark greens, browns, blacks, and the track gears I was only able to find in dark gray, dark bluish grays, and normal light grays. Now, this tank utilizes essentially the same configuration as the normal modern tank, but the jungle tank has a few spikes at the front. I got this idea after I researched the spikes that M4 Sherman crews would use in the Pacific to avoid Japanese soldiers from jumping onto their tanks. I also added a little shield at the front of this flag just for extra defense, and also this little gadget right here to help scan the surrounding areas for potential threats in the condensed jungle environment. This tank I spent the most time on just because I needed to look for all these different colored pieces, and I think if you look from the bottom, you can see that this tank was made with a lot more different pieces, whereas the normal tank, it's used with much bigger pieces, since there are a lot more plates made in dark bluish gray rather than in brown, dark green, and gray. Dark brown, and black, and dark green. So that's why this one took the longest for me to make, but honestly, it was the most rewarding. I love the paint scheme, and I love the idea of having a jungle tank in my army. Now, this last tank is an Arctic tank, and this tank I actually had completed long before the jungle and desert tank, but I thought I'd make a video about all of them together, and I thought it'd be more interesting. Now, this one was a lot easier because it was a lot easier to find giant white plates, and the color scheme for this was white, a dash of black here and there, and dark gray, or regular gray. Again, this tank uses all of the same features, except this one has an updated optic on the left side of the turret that is used to help identify thermal targets from longer range, since when you're fighting in the Arctic, it's difficult to see targets, especially in a blizzard. So having a better thermal optic, or having a more enhanced thermal optic, will help you spot targets from longer distances. This one I am less sort of proud of compared to the jungle tank, just because it was a lot easier to make. There are a lot more white bricks that can be utilized, and also this one I can't really use a lot, since if I leave it out in the sun, this entire thing will just bleach up and turn into a whitish yellowish hue, which is very unpleasing. One thing I did find out when I was building this tank, though, and I'm probably going to add it onto my jungle and desert tank, is that if I take these 2x2 cylinder plates, I can actually add them onto the road wheels, or the gears of the tank, and it kind of hides the giant blotches of dark bluish gray, which this idea might be used on the desert tank, as this one is a lot easier to see with the black tracks and dark bluish gray road wheels and the gray road wheels. So I might use this same idea on here, and I might just make a post about that if I ever do that. But this tank also has the issue of giant black tracks. Now, I was able to find out that LEGO made gray tracks, but I don't believe that these were used a lot in LEGO sets. So I just added one gray track, since that's all I was able to find, and I think it's just kind of a nice touch, honestly. I didn't want to make... It was much easier to find all of these black tracks, and one set that I heavily utilized when making these tanks was the LEGO Technic heavy-duty bulldozer. It has the perfect tracks, and it comes with around 50 of these, which completes an entire track loop on my tanks. So that's one set that I highly recommend. If you are making tanks that have these sets of tracks, I highly recommend the heavy-duty Technic bulldozer set 42163. It was a cheap set for me to get, and I highly recommend it, since you're not buying a giant set that you'll be sad if you destroy it. And that's kind of all for today. There's not much else to really go over. I'm glad I was able to get this project done. I've been wanting to get it done for a couple weeks now, and I hope that anyone who is subscribed finds that this video is very appeasing to them. Also, there's still around 95% of viewers who are not subscribed. So if you are watching this video, the least you could do is subscribe. You can turn off notifications. The best you could do is just subscribe. I would really like to make it to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And if best comes to best, 1,000 subscribers by August 1st. I would really appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you back in the barracks.